Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you from the Appalachian Trail in Vermont. That's right, I am up here in Vermont. I am going to be finishing the great state of Vermont / Vermud, but if you look, we have got some bluebird skies, and hopefully it's going to stay that way this week, and we will have some great weather here. I am starting an orphan section that I had here that we skipped last time we were up here, so we're going to finish this. And it's up and over Stratton, so hopefully I think I got about 6 miles to make it to Stratton shelter / campsites. Hopefully there'll be some campsites there. Going to do that, but I am getting ready to get on trail tomorrow. I'll be meeting with Retread's going to pick me up and jump me back up ahead to where I finished last year, and we have a special guest that's going to be joining us. Come along, you know, he is on his through hike. He is a little south of here. He is not going to be starting with me. He'll be through this section. Probably not too far from now. I think he's down in New York. But he'll be coming on his adventure. So in any case, looking forward to this. Looking forward to finishing up Vermont. Hopefully it don't turn into Vermud. Here we go. All right, 20-minute check-in. So right now, first day of the hike, and I'm extremely excited about what the week holds for me. Getting back to Vermont and finishing, I'm really excited about seeing Vermont in a different light than last year. Last year we had two big things that were going against us. It was no dry spots basically on the trail. It's all mud. So all this treadway you see now would have been mud. Lots of rain during a hike, so a lot of times it was actually flowing. So I actually got some dirt for a treadway, so that's awesome. Roots are still there, but hey, it wouldn't be the AT without the roots, right? And then plus, if you've watched last year's, I encourage you to go back and do it, compare it to this year's. But the treadway is also shared by the AT and the long trail here. Long trail being one of the first, not the first, long trail, in parentheses, in the US. So it goes up through the Green Mountains. And here where it starts, just north of Massachusetts line, and goes up to over Killington, and shortly after Killington, what's called the junction there, long trail breaks off from the AT, continues on to Canada, and AT takes a cut to the due east, heads over toward New Hampshire, and on up to Big Mama K. So anyway, marked difference. I got two. I said I had two things. So treadway's great. So the second thing is that my plantar fasciitis, after a year and some odd days of some self rehab and other things, that whenever I get the time, that's going to be a video that I do. But that has gotten considerably better. We'll see how it goes. If you saw my last trip before this one into Southern Virginia, had a few issues, but it wasn't too bad. So we'll see how this week hiking goes. Hopefully it's going to go great. So I'm starting my ascent on Stratton Mountain. I've got to do, it looks like on far out app, somewhere around 1,800 feet in about 3.2 miles. So y'all do the math. That's a pretty steep ascent. So that is what I'm facing right now. Oh, one of the things, so my point in talking about the long trail was that the AT can be considerably rooty here, the treadway, because it gets two long distance trail through hikers coming through here. And this being, you know, up north, and it being a relatively short through hike, a lot of people do it. And you know, it's close to a lot of major metropolitan areas, so treadway gets a lot of wear and tear. A lot of soil gets kicked up. When it rains, it gets washed away. All right, there you go. That's my geology lesson for the day, maybe the trip. And boy, isn't this gorgeous coming through these birch trees and the conifers together. It's awesome. All right, first day on the trail, so everything's awesome now. We'll see how that goes in a week. All right, guys, we will chat with you later. All right, so I'm going through this little section right here where there's getting pretty high up, where there's a near the top where there is a lot of spruce, looks like, and it's really neat because it smells like a Christmas tree through here. So I don't, there's spruce and not Fraser fir, I don't think so, but it just smells really, really neat. So my father has lost his sense of taste, and he had lost his sense of smell, but he's got it back, but he does not, well, I say back, he's got it back about 60%, but not 100%. And I checked, let me get back to that in a minute about my pop. I checked my app just a second ago to see how far from the top was. And when it says nearby, you know you're near the top. So I think I'm here at the top. Yep. Here's the tower. Awesome. All right. We're going to go up on that thing if it's open, or at least go up as high as we can. And give you all a little view of it. But this is, so it is, the top is not an open area here. Kind of like Mount Rogers. All right, we'll see at the top of the tower. All right, made it up into the tower here at Stratton. So this is what Vermont looks like. I think that's Bromley. The ski slopes you see over there in the distance. Came through there last year and got to the top. This is what Vermont, and that may be on up into New Hampshire, I'm not sure. But this is what it looks like from the top of Stratton Tower. Over there is Stratton. Again, there's another ski slope over there. That's the ski lift, the top of it. It's about 7/10 off. I'm not going over there. And that, I think, is my final destination for the night. That, I think, is Stratton Pond. So that's about, says it's about 3.2, mostly downhill. We will see how my new braces, patella tendonitis braces, do on the downhill. But anyway, wow, it's just gorgeous. All right, heading on to Stratton Mountain Pond, Stratton Pond, whatever it's called. We're heading there. All right, so we are 1.6 from Stratton Pond Shelter, where that is our final destination. That will put us at somewhere around 6 or 7 miles today. Yeah. So, coming out of the parking lot there at Kelly Stratton Roads where we started, at that trailhead, and pretty much all uphill you get to Stratton, and then it's all downhill, at least to this point, which is 1.6 from the shelter. So the climb up is really not bad. If you've come from Georgia, you've had a lot worse and a lot longer and a lot higher altitude. So, you know, we gained 32-ish. So, well, I'll take it back. Gained less than that. It topped out around 36. So, whatever we're already at. Anyway, gained, it was 2,000. Somewhere around a little shy of 2,000 is what we gained in about 3.2 miles. So, had worse than that before. I mean, it's got its moments, but most parts all right. It's got some switchbacks, and it has some places where it levels out. Then you're coming down the other side of Stratton after the peak, which, if I didn't mention before, is it's the summit. You can't see anything from the summit. It's nothing but trees. So I think I did mention that, just like at Rome Mountain. So you get up in the tower, though, you got a great view, and here's a couple shots of those. But coming back on the back side of that, trail north, pretty good descent coming down. So far so good on the patella tendonitis and the patella bands I have put on here. I also use some arthritis cream, Voltron, something, I don't know. Here's a shot of it. Used it. It's OTC, over the counter, so pick it up, and maybe that helped. Maybe just because I hadn't been out on the trail but for half a day, or really just a couple hours. So we'll see later on the day or later on the week how the bands are doing, and that cream is doing for helping the tendonitis. But so far so good. And once you get down about halfway, 1.6 miles down is how much of a descent you've got after the tower till it starts to moderate some. And, you know, dry weather, it's all right, just really steep, so take your time. Easy to face plant. And then after that, so far, it's been okay. A couple places that are relatively slightly sloped and some flat spots and stuff. So we'll see if that maintains itself. But I like that kind of trail because I can make good time on it. All right, we'll check in when we get to the shelter. So I've made it to the shelter without any kind of instance. The shelter has a upper portion to it, and then it actually has individual bunks in it. So it can probably sleep somewhere around 12 or so, but if you are not sleeping there in the shelter, then the other alternative is they have, I don't know, 3 to 4 tent pads there. And you know, you have to have a freestanding tent or be able to tie it off there with some eye bolts. So if you have a trekking pole tent, it can be kind of difficult. All the tent pads were taken when I got there, so I just kind of picked a stealth site that was way in the back there and set up camp back there. Got there late, wasn't going to be there long, so it didn't really matter. Didn't spend a lot of time around the tent. But the trail coming up there was really enjoyable. Just had a great time getting on trail, getting back up in Vermont, and just really being on the trail in Vermont without all the mud. Now it had rocks and it had roots, and it was straight up in places. But once you got to the top up there, boy, were the views just awesome to see there from the fire tower there, the observation tower there at Stratton, top of Stratton Mountain. So that was very cool. Enjoyed that. And then there's also some good sights to see along the way. There's some water places to see, and I didn't have that much problem finding water on this particular section. but we'll talk about what the problems I had the rest of the trip. But the biggest thing that I enjoyed was the sunset that night there at Stratton Pond. That was just awesome to go down there, and the pond was like glass, and it was just really, really neat. And another really neat part of it was to get together with a hiker community. There were several hikers there at the shelter, and one of those was Last Call. So Last Call had been updating me a few times in the beginning of his journey and had kind of waned here lately, which a lot of people do, but it was good to kind of reconnect with him and then just to enjoy the hiker community down by the pond at sunset. So that was really neat. Really one of my favorite days out there, and this was a great way to end that day. So stay tuned for more of my Vermont trip coming up.